Hi, this is Nancy L.T. Hamilton with a jewelry tip, another one. And today we're going to talk about sawing and the things that you need for that. And the first thing you need is a saw frame, and you need saw blades. The saw blades have this really bizarre system of numbering. They start at 7, which is the biggest, like big chunky teeth, big spaces between it, and they go all the way down to what's called 8/0. And an aught is nothing more than a 0, and it's written like this, 8/0, but it's pronounced 8/0. These go, this is the smallest blades you're going to get. The teeth are really close together and they're small, and it goes 8/0, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1/0, and then it goes to 0, and then it starts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with no odds. So I don't know why they did it, but that's what they did. So we don't care about that. What we want to know is what saw blades do we use when we saw our metal. Generally, when you're sawing 22 gauge, 20 to 24 gauge, I like to use like a 4/0 blade. Generally, I use mostly 4/0, 6/0, and occasionally 8/0 when I'm doing real fine work with thin metal. So today what we're going to do is we're going to load this 4/0 in here, and I can't see these teeth. And even if I hold this up here, you're only going to see a piece of, looks like a line. But there are teeth on here, and the way to tell if there's teeth is to take your finger and drag it down the side of the blade, and you will feel resistance. Now this is upside down because my finger is getting stuck. You can almost see it getting stuck. So I turn this over. The teeth need to face down. So when I run my finger across like this, I want to feel the resistance pointing down. I should slide this way and it should be smooth, and it is. So I'm going to keep it just like this, because sometimes you turn it over, twist it. Keep it just like this. Get your frame. I load from the bottom. So here's my bottom. I'm going to screw the eye down, and this is where your stomach comes in handy. Put the frame against your desk. Lean in. Put the top part in and tighten it down. This needs to go a little more. See how there's so much give there? I need to tighten this a little bit. All right, now when I let go, it's going to be really pulled tight since this is a flexible frame. So you should be able to hear the ping, and that's what you want your saw blade to sound like. If it's not, doesn't make that sound, it's floppy and it's going to break on you, and you're not going to be a happy person. So then the next thing we need is the metal and a pattern that you're going to saw. In this case, I use a laser printer. I store all my images on my laptop, and when I need a new picture, I just print it out on my printer. Some people use a scribe, which scratches a pattern in, but I find it very difficult to see. So this I just put on with my fancy little Office Depot glue stick here. I just put it on the back of the piece and then glue it on. I keep a file with all different pattern types in it. So now I'm going to show you how to saw. If I could figure out how to put my chair down, which I really can't figure out how to do. Okay, so I finally figured out how to put my chair down. You want to have your chair low. You don't want to be way up here and bending over. It's really bad ergonomics. It's going to hurt your neck. So you have this is called a bench pin, in case you didn't know. And this V is here for a reason. The metal goes on either side of it and supports it. If you tried to saw like this, it would do that. It wouldn't be, what's the word I'm looking for? Level, perhaps? So when you start your cut, I always angle my blade to get my teeth to dig in and bite. So once you started, you need to pull your blade to perpendicular to the floor. So I want to use this small space here. I don't want a lot of flexibility. I don't know if you can see this, but see how the metal is bulging here? If I try to saw on that, the metal's going to move, and it's going to pinch this blade that we saw is pretty taut. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to pull it down the lower end of my V here, because this is pretty thin metal here. I think after I patterned it, I think it's probably close to 26. So where's that little hole I made? I'll do another one. Okay, so now I'm going to put both fingers on either side. If you notice, there is a V between my fingers. That's to keep my fingers safe from the saw blade in case I accidentally breaks I don't want to cut my fingers. These things will slice right through. They're nice clean cuts, but you don't want to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the blade up and down, perpendicular to the floor. I'm not pushing any pressure on it. I'm actually pushing into the blade a little bit with my hands. And if you'll notice, I'm sawing, the blade is staying in the same place, but my backhand is turning. And this is how you saw it. You take this hand guides and turns, and the blade stays the same. You go up and down. Now see how that's doing that? You don't want that. Hold it down. Go around. Occasionally you move it. I mean, nobody's perfect, but the deal is this is the mover hand, and this is the little machine. Up and down. Actually, this is a very zen activity. I like sawing. By the way, if you need to get a chart on saw blades, most manufacturers have them that sell blades have them. Like Rio Grande, I believe, has a saw blade chart. Tim McCrite put out a book called The Complete Metalsmith, and he's got a chart in there, and I have a chart on my website. Okay, so I'm not going to saw this whole thing out. You'll probably get bored out of your mind, but I think you get the idea. It's a pretty simple thing. You shouldn't fight this. Oh, by the way, let me show you how to get out of here. You're done. What you need to do is unscrew and pull the blade out like this. And we'll talk a little bit more about sawing and turning tight corners and stuff when I show you how to pierce next. And here's the back of it. I don't know if you can see the pattern that I cut in here. So we'll go talk about piercing and turning sharp corners in a minute. So now we're going to do the piercing. One thing you need to do is have the metal ready, which I have. I've already cut my squares. They're pretty much the same size. You don't have to be ridiculous about it. You just want to make sure your pattern fits on it. This, I've already leveled, flattened one. This is what happens when you use a shear or even a French shop shears like these to cut your metal. You get this bowing. So you need to flatten it for this thing. And the reason I'm doing two pieces the same is because it's a lot easier to saw out two pieces at the same time. If you're going to be piercing something and spending a lot of time and energy on sawing out an intricate pattern, do two of them. You may want to make two rings, or if you want a matched set of earrings, by putting these two together and sawing them at the same time, you'll end up with two matching halves. So I always double when I pierce, sometimes triple the metal. So what I'm going to do is flatten this. All these edges got a little curled, and either leather mallet or a rubber mallet, or even a brass mallet with, I put tape on it. You don't want to mar your metal when you do this. Okay, so that's good enough. So then what I do is I take super glue, and by the way, Tap Plastics makes my favorite. It doesn't dry out in the bottle. I've had a bottle for like 6 months, and it hasn't dried out. So I put a good healthy squiggle of this on here. And if you don't have a torch, by the way, don't use super glue, because that's how I get these apart, is I torch them. I guess you could pry them apart and soak them in acetone or something, but I just torch them and vent the fumes.